Thanks, Chrissy. That was a long intro. I need to cut that back a bit. So I have had a bit of time in the mining industry and capital markets. So, what a great day to be on the road, and thanks to Vertical Events for the opportunity to present, and looking forward to punching on to Melbourne for the footy later in the week. At Blackstone, we believe we have one of the highest grade cobalt and gold projects anywhere in the world, and we're located in British Columbia in Canada. The project's called the Little Gem Project, and it's in historic gold mining region in British Columbia, and the mine is nearby the Braylorn Gold District, which was one of the most prolific gold belts in British Columbia and Canada. They mined 4.4 million ounces at 17 grams per tonne gold, and the prospectors that discovered Little Gem were looking for gold, and the cobalt was what you'd consider a deleterious element or a negative, and we believe that's why they stopped soon after they started the Little Gem adits. We also have gold and nickel exploration in Western Australia, and we'll talk quickly on those at the end. But the primary focus of today's presentation will be on the Little Gem Cobalt Gold Project in Canada. We also have another asset in Canada called the Cartier Nickel Cobalt Project. That's looking for a Voisey's Bay style mineralisation in Quebec. That's a very early stage and won't be of much focus today. But you can see we do have a blend of Australian and Canadian assets, a blend of precious and base metals, but the primary focus is cobalt for the lithium-ion battery revolution, which is occurring as we speak. This is just a quick snapshot of the corporate structure, very tight shareholding. Board and management own 26%. The vendors of the Little Gem project own 16%, and so it makes for a very tight capital structure, well funded for the next round of drilling. Unfortunately, like many of our peers in the cobalt space, you can see our share price fell off a cliff soon after Elon Musk made his comments around cobalt, and which are clearly not correct. We've spent some time with the battery end users, and cobalt will be a very important metal for the batteries at least for the next 10 years. So it's a great opportunity to look at cobalt equities, not just Blackstone but others in our space. Board of management, we have a strong technical team. My chairman is Hamish Halliday. He was the founder of a company called Adamas, which was a multi-million ounce discovery in West Africa that was taken over by Endeavour, and that ended up being a mine and still mined today, I think. Steve Parsons has been his long-term business partner for the last 20 years. Steve had a very similar story with a company called Griffin Minerals, multi-million ounce discovery also in West Africa, which was taken over by Teranga. Behind the scenes, we have a very strong technical team. Dr. Stuart Owen has been with this group, and this group of geologists have all worked together for the last 20 years. Dr. Stuart Owen is one of the better geologists I've worked with, and I had the pleasure of spending 3 days out in the hills at Little Gem with him recently, and learned a lot from that. My background's actually mining engineering, so I don't really know much about rocks, and I'm colourblind as well, so that doesn't help. But I do have some underground mining experience, and what we see at Little Gem is we potentially have an underground mine on our hands, and so my skill set will be put to good use, hopefully, when we find something at Little Gem. My technical director is Andrew Radonjic, and also one of the better geologists I've worked with also. His background's more in underground mine geology, so which will also hopefully be very helpful going forward. And I suppose we've got to talk about the accountants as well, but there's a couple of accountants in there. We've got to make sure we keep the books clean. So this is the project. We're 6 hours out of Vancouver. We're 3 hours north of Whistler. So this Braylorn district is a historic mining region, so it's a pro-mining district. There's only, I think, 50 people live in Braylorn, and then Goldbridge is another 50, so we're very isolated. It's probably not the place you'd go for a holiday, but Whistler obviously is, so if anyone wants to come for a site visit, we'll stop off in Whistler on the way. They mined 3 adits, and they were looking for gold in the 1930s, and they stopped very quickly in those adits. So they only really tested a very small area, maybe 50 to 100 metres of what we believe is a whole belt full of cobalt potential geology. We have a number of different targets, and I'll go through them. That rock there is our pet rock, and it's at the stand if you want to come and have a look. It's one of the heaviest rocks you'll find. It's 6% cobalt, 1.3 ounces per tonne, so they tend to use ounce per tonne in British Columbia because that's how high grade their mines are. So very high grade cobalt and gold. So these are the historic results from the Little Gem adits. They did some drilling. These are some of the highest grade cobalt results and figures you'll see anywhere in the world, and gold as well. So a lot of our peers are lucky to have 0.1% cobalt. We're looking at 10 times that and multiples of 1. Obviously very high value per tonne and a good starting point. Grade is always a great start. This was our first hole, and it confirmed we have some of these high grades. So you can see we've got these different styles of mineralisation. You've sort of got your disseminated zones through the blue section, and then your high grade in the massive sulphide. So we're still getting high grade in the disseminated zones, and our high grade is plus 3% cobalt. The lower grades are sort of 0.5 to 1%, and these low grades are still much higher than anything else out there. So that was our first hole. It confirmed we've got some grade. And that's what it looks like on a section. We're hitting big, broad zones of mineralisation, of alteration with smaller mineralisation zones. So we had a big fluid flow event, we think, here, and it's a big structure. Unfortunately, the scale at Little Gem just wasn't there. So we tested this 300 metre zone where we thought we had enough to build an underground mine. The scale just wasn't there. We've tested about 300 metres with our first round of drilling, and then we've done an IP survey soon after. I'll show you the results of the IP survey, but this is what we believe is a strike of this structure, and we've got cobalt and gold in soil and stream sediments for 1.8 kilometres along this structure. And soon after drilling, we sent the geos out to do some prospecting. We found a new target called Erebor, which is the pink is the erythrite, which is the pink bloom or the cobalt oxide, and that was the same mineral that led the prospectors to discover Little Gem. And we've now discovered the first signs of cobalt in this region since 1930, and this is because we are the first company to look for cobalt in this belt, and within months of starting on the project, we found a new discovery. It has visible gold, it has erythrite, it has the sapphirite, which is the cobalt sulphide. This is a very exciting breakthrough for us because it shows we have a belt scale opportunity, we have potential for multiple deposits. This is our IP survey. So what you can see is that the Little Gem in the centre and the Erebor are potentially the high grade or the surface expressions of something that's happening much bigger at depth. So these are very large IP anomalies, very large sulphide bearing bodies. Our geophysicist is confident these are sulphide bearing bodies, and the large one is this large one over 800 metres long, 800 by 500 metres long. The smaller one, which is a little bit more discrete but in a very important position near Erebor and Little Gem, is still 300 or 400 metres wide and long. So we're talking about very large sulphide bearing bodies that have the scale that unfortunately Little Gem didn't. So Little Gem didn't have the scale to build an underground mine. These are significant targets that we will test very soon. This is This is what it looks like on a long section. So you can see very clearly where we were drilling at Little Gem, the sulphide potential was limited. We need the sulphides for the cobalt and the gold. And these are very large sulphide targets along strike, which we are looking to permit and drill as soon as possible. This is what it looks like on a 3D perspective. What we're showing here is that these are open at depth. The Braylon mine, which down the road, they've mined 4.4 million ounces down to a depth of 2 kilometres. This survey is only testing about 300 metres. The largest anomaly there is open at depth and getting bigger at depth. And we're still only sort of 200 or 300 metres, so very, very easily to test, very good locations for drilling. So where we were just looking is up to the north, and we have 48 kilometres of what we believe is cobalt-bearing geology. We have the same geology as the Bouazier mine in Morocco, and this is the only primary cobalt mine in the world today. They've been mining cobalt for 75 years. They've mined 100,000 tonnes of cobalt over that time. They produce 2% of the world's supply, and they have the highest grade of any cobalt mine in the world. So we have the same geology, and it's all about this contact. It's the serpentinized ultramafic or serpentinite on the contact of a quartz diorite. This is what it looks like in the underground mines in Morocco. We have the same geological contact for 48 kilometres throughout our belt. This is a belt that's only ever been explored for gold, and it's the most prolific gold belt in British Columbia's history, never been explored for cobalt. We have potential for a belt scale opportunity similar to the Bouazier district in Morocco. So Bouazier has 50 kilometres, they have 50 deposits, they're very small, high-grade underground mines. We have a belt, we have 48 kilometres, we have a number of deposits and targets throughout the belt that have never been explored or assayed for cobalt. So we believe we have a similar opportunity in a first world jurisdiction in British Columbia. A lot of people don't realise this. This is the current cobalt production in the top mines in the world producing cobalt, and the Bouazier mine at the top with the highest grade. The next 3 or 4 are from the DRC. So you've got 1% in the Morocco, in the Bouazier mine, the rest are in the Congo. By the time you get out of the Congo, you're talking 0.1, 0.2% cobalt. So as I said earlier, we're looking at something that's potentially 10 times the grade of anything else out there. And we believe we're the only company at the moment on any of the exchanges that has the same geology as what we see as the best cobalt and the only primary cobalt mine in the world. We'll just talk quickly about our assets in Australia, particularly because cobalt's a little bit on the nose, so I suppose we'll talk about our other stuff which we actually like as well. This is the Silver Swan South project. We're 8 kilometres along strike of the Kanowna Belle mine, and we're and 10 kilometres south of the Silver Swan nickel mine. So Silver Swan was actually the first underground mine I worked at, and that was a 10% nickel mine, so some of the highest grade nickel you'll find. And Kanowna Belle was the second mine I worked at, and that's one of the best underground mines in Australia. The stopes are as big as this building. It's large, it's high grade, it's 7-8 grams per tonne, it's 5 million ounces. It's one of the best underground mines you'll find. We have a similar geochemical signature in air core, bottom of hole air core, on the same structure we believe as Kanowna Belle. We hit 10 metres at 3 and the market yawned. This is potentially an emerging gold discovery sort of hidden in what is our flagship asset over in British Columbia. So you can see there the geochem signature or the air core drilling signature is the same size as the Kanowna Belle ore body, so we can very easily find a multi-million ounce deposit here at Silver Swan South. I joked with Andrew we should have called it Kanowna Belle North, but I'll show you why we called it Silver Swan South, because we actually really like it because of this komatiite unit, and that's what it hosts the nickel sulphide. So we've got nickel, copper, platinum, palladium, cobalt as well, all the signs of a nickel sulphide. So we'll test both of these targets over the coming months. And that's the nickel cobalt anomalies in there. So very significant nickel sulphide targets. We've got some great ground up in the Pilbara near the Nullagone mine, and that's a very strategic position amongst Millennium's tenure, and we've done some work on that. We're looking for quartz vein hosted gold. Just in summary, we believe we've got some of the highest grade cobalt you'll find anywhere in the world. We're in a first world tier 1 mining jurisdiction in British Columbia. Some of the best mines you'll find anywhere in the world. Some of the best geology you'll find anywhere in the world. We have the same geology as the Bouazia mine in Morocco, which is the only primary cobalt mine in the world. It's a head grade of 1% after 75 years of mining cobalt. So we've got the same geology as the best cobalt mine in the world. We've got exposure to some great nickel and gold exploration in Western Australia, which is what we're also very good at. But more importantly, we've got a team that's got a proven track record of multi-million ounce discoveries and big exploration success that leads to increased shareholder value and corporate success. Thank you. Thank you.